Canon EOS R6. That's the camera I went with when they released it. Bought it a couple days after it actually came out, and got it in the mail, and it's here. I've had it for a few weeks. For starters, let's take a look at it. The button layout looks similar. However, after using it for the first 10 minutes, you realize quickly that it is a completely different layout, and there's good reason for that. It's because it's mirrorless, and everything works a little differently in the mirrorless lineup, which we'll get into here. But it looks fairly plain and simple out of the box. However, once you turn it on and start using it, especially for somebody like me who's coming from the DSLR lineup, and I haven't had the EOS R and I haven't had any other mirrorless cameras, completely different experience once you actually start using it. We can't talk about this camera without talking about the autofocus. The autofocus has drastically improved on this camera versus the DSLRs that I'm used to. Now, like I said, I can't talk as to how it's improved over the EOS R, but as far as the 90D and the 6D Mark II, it's drastically faster, more responsive, and locks on much quicker, almost instantly. In fact, it's crazy. It's like you could literally have somebody sprint across your screen, and as soon as they hit the screen right here, it's locked on, and it stays locked on their head the whole time. It's so fast, so responsive. It makes action photography so much easier that it almost feels like cheating. And another thing about this camera is that the autofocus menu, it's got an entire section in the menu system for autofocus, because there are so many options to tweak and fine tune it to the way you shoot. So that's something else that is extremely improved on this camera and is making it a lot different of an experience shooting with it versus my DSLRs. So when you combine that type of autofocusing with the shots per second, which is like 12 to 20, depending on what kind of, if you're going mechanical versus electronic shutter. And then you also include the fact that it maintains that in the viewfinder, which again, that's new to me, this electronic viewfinder, and it's pretty amazing, especially with this type of focusing. And also the fact that it has the eye tracking, not only on humans, but on animals, and it's extremely accurate. As long as you can see the eye, the camera's picking up that eye. I mean, it's amazingly accurate. I love it. So all of that combined is making, it just makes this autofocus just miles ahead of anything I've used before. And it's making my photos a lot better, a lot sharper. And I find that I'm not necessarily getting better photos than, like, let's say my best photo with this isn't better than my best photo with the 6D Mark II. I'm just noticing that I'm getting a lot more very sharp, very usable photos. So there's way less throwaway photos when I'm using this camera, which is a good thing. I mean, obviously you want more photos that are better. So this definitely accomplishes that. So we're gonna get into some color grading, and this is just standard footage now. Then I'm gonna go to Log here in a second, and I'm gonna try to make this look very dramatic. Horrible acting aside, the Canon Log is a really cool feature that I was looking forward to using on here. It's something that I have zero experience with, so I didn't even know what software I could use. Unfortunately, I found that you have to actually pay for software pretty much. You don't get a free download from Canon to upload your video or to, play with your video on and color correct. You have to actually use like Premiere Pro, DaVinci Resolve, there's a bunch of different software out there, but I haven't found anything free. Even though they said DaVinci Resolve was free, it's free to download and free to use for a second, but then you have to buy the upgraded edition to actually open the log files on there and actually make adjustments. And I think MacBook Pros have free software. I don't know, but either way, Canon Log is fantastic. It's a new fun thing, as you saw there. You can make some major adjustments, and it's really cool. It's really easy, and you can do it in 1080p, 4K. You can even set it up for your slow motion, 120 frames per second on this camera, which we'll get into here soon. But I just want to bring that up, that it is definitely on here. It's really cool, and it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. Let's talk about lenses on this guy. First and foremost, I don't own any RF lenses, the native mount for this. Not yet, I don't. So what I did was I actually ordered the EF to RF adapter right here for an extra $100 before I even ordered the camera. This actually ordered this, then I ordered the camera knowing full well that I was going to need this adapter. And one of the things that's really cool about this is not only do all the EF lenses work on it, but the EFS lenses, my older lenses for like the T7i and stuff, work on it really well. So just out of curiosity, I wanted to see how well they work. So I took it out, and here's some samples of the EFS lenses in 4K. These are some different lenses that are probably the more popular EFS lenses. So one thing I do want to say is as soon as I put those on here, it goes instantly into crop mode. And then also when it's in crop mode, unfortunately for video anyways, the IBIS doesn't work on here. So the digital IS works, but you lose IBIS capabilities, the in-body image stabilization, which you can hear there. But yeah, so you know, that's one of the key features to this, the in-body image stabilization, which I found to be fairly useful. And as far as the 20 megapixel sensor, I'm still kind of on the fence with that. There's times where I do zoom in or crop, and I'm happy with it. You know, it worked. I had no issues with it. But there's definitely already been times where that I'm not sure. I don't want to say for sure, but where I wish I had more crop room, if that makes sense, more leeway to crop. So that I'm still not 100% sure about that yet. That's one thing that I'm up in the air about. All right, now let's talk about video. One of the cool features on this that the 90D or 60 Mark II or any DSLR that I've ever used never had that this has is I can actually, while I'm shooting photos, hit this button right here. It's a record button. And while I'm taking stills, instantly start recording through the viewfinder. That's a really big deal to me because there's a lot of times where that's extremely useful. And, you know, that might be a function of that all of the mirrorless cameras can do. Like I said, if I'm coming from a DSLR, that's not something I'm used to doing. So to me, that is a big deal. And it's a huge benefit to be able to do that. So yeah, there's a button up here. And what you can do is program the shooting mode, the video style to this. So for example, if you want to shoot in 1080p at 60 frames a second, 4K 60, 4K 30, you know, whatever you want to do, you can preset that to record as soon as you push this while you're shooting your stills in the viewfinder. It's amazing. I love it. And it wasn't even something I knew about until I started screwing around with the camera. And then when I realized you could do that, and there's actually a menu in here where you can set to do, awesome. That really changed the way I can shoot with all of the different video settings on here between the 4K 60, 30, 24, the 1080p, same 60, 30, 24. And you've got the 120 frames a second with the autofocus that'll stay focused while something is moving. It makes for a really, really nice in focus video, where with the 90D, like I said, I'm only going off what I'm used to using. With the 90D, it would initially focus, and then once you started shooting, it went to manual focus. Well, this maintains the focus the entire time for 120 frames a second. Another huge, huge benefit. And I just can't stress enough how much of a difference shooting through the viewfinder, video through the viewfinder makes to me personally, especially with my eyesight, trying to look at the back while I'm shooting and hold it a certain distance. It's just not convenient shooting that way for me. So there's a button here that actually pulls up different options while you're looking in the viewfinder to change things that in the past you had to actually look back on the screen to change, but now you can pull up certain functions in the screen because, like I said, it's an electronic viewfinder. So that makes a big difference as well. There's just so many different options that this opens up with the electronic viewfinder. And it's really crazy. It really is neat technology. So, I know a lot of people watching this are probably thinking, man, I'm so used to DSLRs. I've been a DSLR person my whole life, which I have been as well in the few, short 3 or 4 years I've been into cameras. And I always thought that I'm fine with the DSLR. I have no issues with it. I'm getting good results. I'm totally fine with it. And then I can see why people are making the switch, and it's just the convenience factor is through the roof. It's not even close when it comes to the convenience. Now, another thing with this viewfinder on here, when I first looked through it, I thought, wow, that looks horrible. It looks nothing like the image I'm capturing. It's way too bright. The colors are off, which all of that is true. But on this, there are ways to adjust that. So I went in, I obviously could dim the viewfinder. And then also, the colors in the viewfinder were really cold, like very blue. And that doesn't match up with the settings that I typically shoot a little warmer, on the warmer side, like around the K5000, K5200, maybe K4800, somewhere in there. Well, in the viewfinder, it looks more like K3000. It's like way on the blue level, way on the cold. So there is actually a setting in here where you can warm up, increase that color temperature, and make it warmer in the viewfinder, or colder, whatever you want to do to match your style of shooting, so it looks more realistic and more it matches the picture you're actually taking more closely. So I love that. I wish it would do that automatically, but the fact that you can change that is really cool. So that made it a lot more comfortable looking through the viewfinder that it matched up with what I was looking at. I know that I'm getting good results with it. And like I said, I can't say for sure that my best picture with this is going to be better than my best photo with the 6D Mark II. And I can't say that the video I get from this is going to be that much better than I'm getting with the 90D, minus the crop factor. But the 90D has been excellent. I mean, it's crystal clear. It's tack sharp. It's been excellent 4K quality. But the fact that this combines all of that into one, and the mirrorless aspect adds a whole different level of convenience. So I've got all of that in one camera here. And, granted, it is literally twice the price as both those cameras. So, you're really not gaining much by getting this financially versus getting the 90D and the 6D Mark II. So it's all about convenience, really. The fact that you can use all the EFS lenses on it, all your EF lenses, you can get into new RF lenses, the viewfinder, all the different shooting modes. It's just, the list goes on. And, somebody who is mostly a hobbyist, I really am looking for fun. I want to enjoy the experience. I want the camera to be the last thing I'm thinking about while I'm shooting. I just want to be out enjoying what I'm looking at, taking pictures, and I want this to be an enjoyable experience for me. And this is, I'm still not 100% comfortable with it like I am my, the 6D Mark II, which I've been using for a couple of years now. It's so seamless. I can just pick it up and I know where everything is. I'll get there with this. But once I get there, and with all the other options it has, I'm going to get way past that with this. And I think anybody who starts using this camera or probably the R5, maybe even the R. I don't know. I've never used the R, but I really like Canon's mirrorless setup here and the quality that I'm getting with it and everything. So extremely happy with this camera, happy with the results so far, and keep an eye out. I'm going to be making a lot more videos about this because I just started making videos on it. I wanted to use it for a while and kind of see what its strengths are and see where it fit into what I like to do. And so far it fits perfectly, like right dead in the middle of everything I like to do. And it's the do-it-all camera for me. So that's it. That's my kind of first impression, overall look and run at the R6. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And thank you for watching. Subscribe and have a fantastic day.